Thank you very much, Mercy. Good morning. Good morning, Mercy. Good morning, everybody. I hope you can hear me. If you can hear me, please, I need somebody to tell me I can hear you, then I move on from there. Can you hear me? Can anyone hear me clearly?
I can hear
I
you
can
loud
hear
and clear.
you.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, my name is Bolaji, as Mercy has said. So, in about a few minutes, I would like to, take us through ISO 9001, right? I'm sure that we must have heard one or two about it in the time past, right? I'm definitely sure that we must have heard one or two things about it. However, there's still need all of there's still need for us to, still shed more light on it at this point in time. ISO 9001 is what you call quality management system, right? It's what we call quality management system. And, in your own understanding, you can start to picture what quality means, what quality means in itself. And I can tell you during the time that I'll be spending together on this call, probably 40, 45, few minutes before we give room for any observation or question, as the case may be, we'd like to explain to ourselves what 9001 is. The principle, the concepts, having the terminology and structure on the top of our head, we want to recognize some basic key principles, right, of this quality management system that we're talking about, how you can comprehend the requirements of 9001, how you want to evaluate, the benefits of 9001 in itself, right? And to learn the key steps in quality management system implementation, right? That is majorly what we'll be looking at today during the course of our time together, right? So, as I said earlier on, we'll talk about the introduction, the concepts, the overview, as the case may be. What does quality mean in your own understanding? It's not, it's not one definition you have to go and bring from heaven, as the case may be. It's the basic quality that you have on the top of your head, something distinct, something different, something that can be understood as a degree to which you set some inherent characteristics. So before you can say something is quality, you must have some characteristics that has been set, right? Or some requirements that are meeting a particular regulatory or stakeholder requirement body, as the case may be, right? Quality reflects the ability of a product, of a service, of a process to meet or exceed the expectation consistently. So on the top of it, you can picture why is it that this particular product, right, has been surviving for 50 years, for 100 years? Why is it that this kind of service that this particular organization, right, why is it that it is still surviving till date? It's because of the quality, that reflects in their businesses, in their products, in their services and processes, as the case may be. In simple terms, right, based on what you can see, their quality is about doing the right things the right way, consistently. So it's not about you doing it today and tomorrow not being there again. As I mentioned earlier on, the question I pose is, why is it that some organizations are still surviving till date? Why is it that we still have some products in the market? Why is it that the particular service, right, is still surviving, and thriving till today, right? These are the dimensions. These are the importance. Understanding quality and its importance in business. In business, you talk about reliability. You talk about durability, conformance, aesthetics, serviceability, and perceived quality, right? So dimensions of quality, you are looking at how consistent the performance is over time. That is what we call reliability. What about durability? Longevity under normal condition, right? Conformance is, we have some specific requirements. Is this particular product, is it conforming, right? Is it conforming? This particular product, does it have specification based on a particular requirement? Why is it that you continue to see a particular bottle the way it is? Why is it that medical doctors still use syringe and they are not using anything anymore? There's still particular specification that they have to adhere to based on a particular standard, right? Aesthetic, sensory appeal of the products. We have a whole lot of products out there, right? But what about the aesthetics aspect? Serviceability, ease of maintenance and repair. You have some products out there, you see that people are getting it over time, and every now and then. Why is it that people are going for it? Do you have, how to maintain it? Is it easy enough for you? how to repair it, is it easy enough? Or probably when it gets spoiled, you have to probably import something, have to break some boundary and all of that before you get those things together. What about perceived quality? Customers' perception based on brand and reputation, right? What is quality, or why is quality important in business, right? Why is quality important in business? That gives you a particular view about customer satisfaction and loyalty. When I see a particular product and is appealing to me, right, as a customer, I get a particular satisfaction. I tend to come back over time and all. That is loyalty. What about cost efficiency and waste reduction? There's cost efficiency and there's also waste reduction. You know, when you talk about waste reduction, you know that there's a particular requirement a product must meet. You know there's a particular requirement a services that you are rendering must meet. That means you are cutting every waste out of it because you have a particular requirement and you have a particular standard that it must follow. And in turn, you are saving costs, right? Cost efficiency, regulatory and legal compliance. We have somebody that is, you know, ready, available to ensure that you comply with it. That is also one of the quality, you know, importance when it comes to when you are, you know, driving your business. Competitive advantage. You know that when you have introduced quality into your business, you have advantage. You have a competitive edge. People tend to come to you better than other, you know, organization, better than other products that you offer, better than other services that, you know, you render to people. What about reputation? People already are aware. You have a good reputation out there. There's a brand value that comes with it. You know, employee morale and engagement, risk management, better risk management at every point in time, market share and growth. There's no way you want to have a quality, you know, quality process in the organization and your market will not grow. And you won't have a better reputation and brand value as it is. And these are the, you know, the explanation of what we're talking about earlier on. Customer satisfaction and loyalty. We already talked about this. Quality is directly tied to customer satisfaction, whether you like it or not. The product that you are creating, the services that you are rendering, it is not for you, right? But for customers. Then how satisfied are they? When they are satisfied, they tend to come more and then to come again for more, which we talk about, you know, when you talk about loyalty. What about reputation? Reputation and brand value. Companies known for quality gain a positive reputation. There's no two way to it. They understand that this is how you do your business. They understand that you have some characteristics and features that is attached to all of these things. They tend to come back. They tend to, you know, give you a kind of reputation out there. They talk about it every now and then, everywhere they go to, building your reputation and brand value. It helps an organization. It helps your business, right? What about cost efficiency? Cost efficiency and waste reduction. It is there too. You can't kick that out. We talked about if all of these things are in place, right? It tends to reduce waste. It tends to reduce waste. It minimizes the need for rework or repairs, which reduces operational costs. There's no two ways to it. You have to have that at the back of your mind. Quality and its importance in business will bring about regulatory and legal compliance. We mentioned this earlier on. Adhering to quality standards helps businesses meet regulatory requirements. Regulatory requirements, non-compliance with quality standards can lead to legal penalties. So in as much as the positive vibe also that you have, you know, regulatory and legal compliance, if you don't comply to, then you have, you know, legal penalties that can be attached at any point in time. By embedding quality into business processes, companies are better equipped to identify potential risks, right? You know, this is how your business should be done. You know, these are the features and characteristics that are laid down. You know the specifications. If they are not followed, right, you know the potential risks attached to them. You know that failures can come with it. You know how to implement corrective actions early when you know when these risks arise, as the case may be. What about competitive advantage? We mentioned that, and your market share and growth. There will be a consistent delivery of products at high quality at every point in time in markets. When people tend to come for your products, when people tend to come to you at every point in time, it depicts that you are doing something right. It depicts that something in your business, something in your product, something in your organization is being done in a right way. Examples of quality in business context, right? Manufacturing, healthcare, IT services, retail. So there is no way you want to talk about any of this, right, that you won't talk about quality. In manufacturing, there is quality. In healthcare, there's quality attached to it. What about IT service? What about in retail business, right? The main mention of a particular manufacturing, car manufacturing organization, they ensures that all parts are produced to specification, minimizing defects and recalls. It is possible when specifications are not followed. I'm sure that you've heard about it before, that they can recall products. They can recall to the fact that they can recall phones, they can recall cars, and much more, based on the fact that something is missing in the specification that needs to be embedded, right, in that particular product, or in that particular car brand, phone brand, as the case may be. Right. What about healthcare? A hospital that follows strict hygiene protocols and continuously trains its staff, right, on patients care, provides high quality services at all times. When on the top of your head, you can be thinking of a probably particular hospital or probably locations that you've been to, and realize that something is right in this organization and something is not working in this organization, you tend to go to one more than the other. What about IT services? Even in retail business, yours might not be in IT services, yours might not be in healthcare. What about in retail, right? What you do, right, in retail businesses that you have all over. A clothing brand that maintains consistent sizing, uses durable material, gains a reputation for quality. We've mentioned it, right? Reputational brand value. You are building your brand over time when you follow quality, quality process. This is the overview. ISO is everywhere. You have ISO. In this context, we're talking about ISO 9001, right? But we have a whole lot of ISOs. We have information security management system. We have business continuity and all of that. And that is where they derived all the ISO International Organization for Standardization. This is an organization that comes about, how specifications for products, for services, for organizations to be standardized, for them to ensure that quality, safety, efficiency, they are being put in place on a global scale, right? And in this context, we're talking about ISO 9001 quality management system. You've seen it all yourself. The headquarters is in Geneva. I won't dwell much on this. And there are over 160 national standard bodies, right, that is in line with ISO. Overview of ISO and ISO 9001, the family, why ISO standard matters. We've mentioned one, global relevance, quality assurance. So when you have a retail business and you are certified, right, there's global relevance, quality assurance, risk management, market confidence at every point in time, right? While ISO 9001 is the most widely recognized and applied standard within this family, the family includes other standards that provide additional context, definition, and guidance for effective quality management. You can see this is the overview of the 9001 family standard. One provides guidelines for auditing management principles, management system that includes QMS in itself. QMS is quality management system, right? 9001 offers guidance for achieving sustained organizational success beyond compliance. 9001 is the standard itself, certifiable standard, maintaining standard with specific requirements for quality management system. ISO 9001 provides fundamental terms. Let me say this again, that ISO 9001 is certifiable. Some other ones, they are not certifiable, right? ISO 9001 is certifiable. And when you're talking about this, you talk about it is the main standard within the ISO 9000 family. 9000 family, is quality management system, but this one talks about fundamentals and vocabularies, right? Remember that. But I mentioned that the difference between 9001 as a family and 9,000 as a family, and 9,001 is that 9,001 is certifiable. It has requirements that you need to follow, guidelines, requirements in accordance with the guidelines that you need to follow. So 9,001 is certifiable. You get certificate as an organization, right, for 9,001. The other ones are not certifiable, but it is embedded in that family. I hope you're following me, right? ISO 9001 is the standard that companies seek certification against. You know, I mentioned it as it provides a clear framework for QMS best practices. It lays out criteria for implementing a quality management system that meets customer requirements and continually improves organization performance when things are put in place in an organization, right? Let's move ahead. 9004, quality management, quality of an organization, guidance to achieving sustained success. ISO 9004 itself guides extending the benefits of QMS beyond ISO 9001 compliance. We'll not dwell much on this, but what is ISO 9001 itself? How the ISO 9000 family supports quality management. It brings alignment across industries. It emphasizes on customer satisfaction. It brings about encouraging continual improvements, and it brings flexible framework, right? Flexible framework in terms of, these are the requirements that you need to adhere to. It is comprehensible. It's something that you can easily, comprehend. What are the benefits? We've mentioned it will bring brand value, growth, cost reduction, and over all of that. Right? Benefits of ISO 9000 family, customer satisfaction. ISO 9001 is so pedantic, very particular, right, about customer satisfaction. It directly drives the contribution, to be about bringing better customer experiences and loyalty. Improved processes. It guides you on how to optimize your process. It guides you on how to optimize your processes, your the lay down processes in the organization, your specifications. So if specification is not working, right, ISO 9001 will reroute you, guide you into doing the best practice that needs to bring about, excellence in your business, in your retail business, in the services that you render, or in the products, right, that you deliver out there. Risk management, we've mentioned it earlier on, helps identify, right, helps assess, and you manage potential risks that can come at any point in time. This is the family. We've mentioned this earlier on. This is what is ISO 9001. I think we've been talking about it, but let's touch on it again. ISO 9001 is a standard that sets out the requirements for a quality management system. It helps businesses and organizations to be more efficient and improve customer satisfaction. ISO 9001 is so big, right? It's so big on customer satisfaction. Why are you dishing out quality out there if you don't want to dish out quality to your customer? Why are you doing ISO 9001 if it is not, to give customer satisfaction and all, right? We have previous versions, but 2015 is the latest one of ISO 9001. Purposes and benefits of ISO 9001. Who is ISO 9001 for? Some people will be like, I'm not concerned about ISO 9001. I don't even have a car manufacturing organization. I'm not in IT line or firm. I'm not in healthcare, health sector, and all of that. They're telling us here, right? ISO 9001 is suitable for organizations of all types, of all sizes, and of all sectors. Tell me an example of an organization that you work with presently. I will tell you ISO 9001 can work perfectly and can fit into your business, into your service. I don't care what you do. There's nothing you do that ISO 9001 can. So far, that thing has activity, has processes that you have. Definitely ISO 9001 fits, right, into it. I mentioned earlier on, we have information security management system. We have business continuity management system. We have occupational health and safety management system. We have health we have environmental, we have artificial intelligence, we have compliance, and so on and so forth. Those ones are specific, tailored, right, to a particular industry and all of that. But in this situation, right, we're talking about quality. So far you are doing clothes, or you are making clothes, you are an events planner, right? You are making cars, you are this, you are that. You can still implement ISO 9001 and get certified to it. In fact, one of the key improvements of the newly revised ISO 9001 was to make it more applicable and accessible to all types of enterprises. I said that already. Smaller companies do not have staff dedicated to quality can still enjoy the benefits of implementing the standard, even if it's a one-man business, right? Even if it's a one-man business, ISO 9001 fits very well, fits appropriately. The purposes of ISO 9001 certification is multifaceted, right? Number one, improving quality consistently. The name is quality management system, right? What is the purpose? It improves your quality consistently. It's not what you do today and tomorrow, the quality has faded off. We're talking about a consistent product that you deliver. We're talking about consistent services or service that you render, right, over time. ISO 9001 provides a foundation for maintaining and enhancing quality. It maintains your standard. It maintains your processes over time. It brings about quality, it enhances quality out of anything that you do. Organization can systematically improve processes, products, and services over time when they follow ISO 9001, right? Improving of quality consistently, the improvement, organizational efficiency and process control. It brings about control to every process. It brings about customer satisfaction, risk-based thinking. You already know when this process is not followed to the letter based on what has been laid down, then the risk is coming. Then this is how we can, manage these risks. You already have an understanding, but that is, when you understand quality management system. What about global recognition? We talked about competitive edge at the other time. When your organization, the products that you offer, the services that you render is out there following a particular requirement, it brings about global recognition. It brings about competitive advantage. You have competitive edge over the next organization beside you, over the next business that is close to you. You have competitive advantage. Why is it that, when I started the class, I mentioned why is it that some products are thriving till now? Why is it that some services are rendered over years, decades, centuries, and they keep coming to life, they keep doing what they need to do over time, and people are still enjoying their service? It is because there's some laid down specifications in line with ISO 9001 that is being followed over time. What about regulatory compliance? We've talked about this, right? And these are the explanations. Customer satisfaction. There's no two way to it, really. There's no two way to it. 9001 brings customer satisfaction. It's customer focused. There's no two way. Organizational efficiency and process control. It brings about control, to your processes. Risk-based thinking. I've mentioned that already, right? Global recognition and competitive advantage. We've mentioned that. Basis for continual improvement. So you already understand that, these specifications are not followed, right? You already understand how it is. Then you know that there's room for improvement. You know that this is a basis for improvement. ISO 9001, Akinbola Abdul, please don't mark the screen again with your red ink. Thank you for that. Abimbola Abdul, right? Please don't mark the screen again with your red ink. Thank you. ISO 9001 emphasizes the importance of continual improvement as a core principle. Organizations are encouraged to regularly assess their performance. It makes your organization better. It makes about the products that you are, bringing out there. It makes it better. As the case may be, organizations are encouraged to regularly assess their performance, make data-driven decisions and implement improvements that enhance their effectiveness and efficiency. What are the benefits? We mentioned it earlier on. Hosts, please, can you take control of Abimbola Abdu? I think the inks, they are becoming too much. Is that we'll remove the person or maybe call the person to attention? I
All right,
wouldn't know
that's noted.
the person. Thank you so much.
Thank
So what
you.
are the benefits?
Yeah.
You know, you mentioned this. Enhanced customer satisfaction and loyalty. We've mentioned this. Enhanced customer satisfaction and loyalty. They will always come back. Improved operational efficiency and reduction in waste. We've mentioned that. That cannot be overflowed, right? We clearly define processes, specifications, and continuous monitoring. Organizations can identify areas of waste or redundancy at every point in time. It streamlines workflows. You know, this is what you need to do at every point in time. We optimize resource usage, reduction in cost over time. You've mentioned that, right? What about employee engagement and accountability? You know what needs to be done. So people that know what needs to be done, they will come and give, account of what they've done, right? Accountability, clear rules and accountability. I know it is Bolaji that will have to do this. I know it is Abimbola that will have to do this. There are clear rules. There are clear rules and accountability that can boost morale, that brings about improvements, in job satisfaction and encourage, the employees to contribute their process improvements over time. Better risk management. I think I mentioned this at every point earlier on, right? It brings about how you can analyze risks, how you can manage those risks, and how you can control them. Data-driven decision making. We're not talking about making decisions alone now. We're talking about backed up decisions with data. So over time, I will still raise that question again. Why is it that, there's some organization, I'm not here to mention those organizations, but you know them yourselves. Why is it that this organization, right, they are surviving till now? They have made some data-driven decision at some point in time. They will monitor the data, they measure it, they analyze the performance in the market, then they know the following thing to do. They know something else to follow. Improved supplier relationship. ISO 9001 certification often requires an evaluation of suppliers and partners to ensure they meet quality standards over time. So the suppliers that you are dealing with, they know what you do, right? They know that you are subscribed to ISO 9001. Over time, this approach fosters stronger relationship with suppliers, which can, better manage whatever you have given to them over time. Brings about more reliable delivery times, smoother supply chain management. On the top of your head, maybe you're a supplier, right? You're giving out products for a particular organization. You are told to bring it on Wednesday, and you are delivering your product on Friday. You cannot keep begging them. You have to up your game to ensure that you deliver at the appointed time before they do their due diligence and they black you out, right? Enhanced marketability and brand reputation. We've mentioned that, don't forget. And ISO 9001 is the foundation for all of other standards that you can talk about. All the other standards that you can talk about. So some IT organization will probably say, I'm into IT, we don't need quality management. This is the bedrock. This is the foundation that your ISO 27000 can rest on. This is the foundation on which your ITSMS, Information Technology Service Management System, can rest upon, right? Consistency in product and services, we've mentioned this. We can't overflow it. There's no two-way to it. It will bring about consistency, right? It will bring about consistency. You already know that in 2 hours, based on your specification, based on your processes in 2 hours, you will deliver 2,000 products, right? And you already know that if these are followed, this is what will be done. If there's a decrease to that, you already know that it is not followed, right? This is not a rocket science. It increased credibility with stakeholders. They already know you are certified to this. They already know you deliver this product at every point in time. You don't waste time. and all of that, it increases your credibility. They will always want to do business with you, right? And it's also in alignment with industry requirements. In certain industries, ISO 9001 certification is a prerequisite for doing business. If you don't have it, they don't do business with you, right? If you don't have it, they don't do business with you. And this is a positive impact on organizational culture. It brings about positive impact on organizational culture at every point in time. Quality refers to the degree to which a set of inherent characteristics of a product, service, or process meets customer requirements. We've mentioned this, right? It is customer-centric. It is focused on customer. Why do we want to do this? It is because we want to meet the demands of our customer. It is because, our customer, they need to be happy at every point in time. Quality management. Quality management is the act of overseeing all activities and tasks needed to maintain a desired level of excellence. There is a desired level of excellence to a particular product, to services that you render. So if the level is at 10 and you are delivering at 7 or 8, it does not meet that desired level of excellence. Your product, your service will not meet that desired level of excellence if those criteria or specifications are not met, right? You need to take into account that, right? That in itself, right? It's a process approach. Quality management system is the process approach. So for every process that you have in the organization, there's an approach to it. For every process, there's a better approach to it. Approach, it matters. A process, definition of a process. A process is a series of interrelated activities or steps that transforms input into outputs, delivering value to customer. And this alone, right, is very, very important. It's very, very important. For example, in manufacturing, industry, doing your raw material, which is an input, you go through processes such as production and assembly, right, to become a finished product. So for every of the process, there's a particular approach. There's excellence that is attached to that approach. If it is being followed, then you are sure that you are good and you are good to go. If it is not being followed, then you know that something is lacking one way or the other, right? I made an example of something earlier on. In 2 hours, you know that this is what you can deliver, right? And in 2 hours, if you are not delivering that particular number at every point in time, you know that a particular process, there's a problem with a particular process. There's a problem with a particular process that you need to look into, right? Why use a process approach? A process approach ensures that each activity in QMS is structured. Each activity in your organization, each process in your organization is structured, is managed, is optimized so that the outcome can bring about efficiency, quality, and compliance. I hope you're following me, right? Understanding interdependencies between them, optimize resource utilization, and you reduce risk. We've mentioned this. Key concepts of quality management system, it's as simple as this, defining each process. You have to define each process. So each process you have in the organization, you have to define it. You have to define it clearly. You have to define each of the process clearly outline each of the process, right? So as the person that does 8 or 9 to 4 or 9 to 5 job, you know those processes that you do, clearly outline them. For all the processes, you definitely know that there's a particular approach, definitely know that there's an objective attached to it, and you definitely know that there's a specification that you need to follow. Understanding interaction, assigning responsibilities and roles, monitoring and controlling processes, and there's a need for continual improvement. ISO 9001, open your eyes to see how you can better do something, right? Based on lay down rules and lay down specification. There's something we call PDCA. It's plan, do, check, act, right? plan, do, check, act. It enables an organization to ensure that its processes are adequately resourced, its processes are adequately managed, and that opportunities for improvement are determined and acted on. That is PDCA. We've talked about risk-based thinking at some point. What about the process approach framework? We've already mentioned it. When you talk about process approach, you talk about ISO 9001. ISO 9001 promotes the adoption of a process approach when developing or implementing and improving the effectiveness of quality management system to enhance customer satisfaction, and by that you are meeting customer requirements, right? Understanding and managing interrelated processes as a system contributes to the organization's effectiveness and efficiency in achieving its intended results. This approach enables the organization to control the interrelationships, interdependencies among the process of the system, right? System has subsystems, right? So it enables you to coordinate it, to control the relationships, the interdependencies, the interrelationship between all of these processes to make a system whole. The process approach involves the systematic definition, management of processes. We've mentioned this, right? ISO 9001, process-based approach. How do you manage each of these processes? How do you understand that each of the process needs to be specifically, systematically defined, managed, to bring about customer satisfaction at every point in time? We've talked about management of processes and systems, can be achieved using PDCA cycle. That is the focus. This is PDCA cycle, PDCA. I would mention it further here. P is to plan, D is to do, the C is to check, and A is to act upon, right? When you talk about plan, you talk about establishing these objectives. So you want to do something, you establish the objectives. You establish the objective, its processes, the resources that are attached to each of these processes, each of these objectives, right? How do you ensure that you deliver results? All of these things, you must take a keen look at it. That is the planning aspect. Then after you plan for it, after you have resources for all of these processes, then you now do, right? In doing, you talk about the implementation, right? Have you implemented something in your organization? Implementation of what was planned. You are acting, right, on what you have planned. You are doing it. You are carrying it out. What about checking? So after you have planned something, right, let's calm down a little bit. After you have planned something, you have done it, right? Let's check, is it working, right? All the specification, all the requirements that has been attached to each of the processes, let us check, let us monitor, right? Is it measurable? Are we seeing results? Are we seeing results based on the requirements, based on the objectives that has been laid down, right? Based on the planned activity? Then you talk about, checking, you want to monitor, you want to measure, you want to do analysis on it. There's something I love doing a lot. There is MMAE, monitoring, measurement, evaluation, and analysis. This is where you do it. You do your monitoring, you do your measurements, you do your evaluation, and you do your analysis. This is where you do it. That is when we talk about check. What about act? Take actions on the improvements, performances as necessary. So after you've checked on it, right, you're certain something is wrong somewhere. You're certain that, okay, I need to do this better in a particular way. And that is when you talk about acting on it. That is PDCA, right? That is PDCA cycle, and the best approach to deal or to go about this, right? Risk-based thinking, we've talked about this. This is opportunities can arise as a result of a situation favorable to achieving an intended result. For example, right, a set of circumstances that allow the organization to attract customers, develop new product and service, reduce waste, or improve productivity. That is an opportunity there, right? Actions to address opportunities can also include consideration of associated risk. Risk is the effect of uncertainty and any such uncertainty can have positive or negative effects. A positive deviation arising from a risk can provide an opportunity, but not all positive effects of risks result in opportunity. I have to take that slowly and read so that we'll get that aspect very well. So we understand that risk is an effect of uncertainty, right? Any such uncertainty can have positive or negative effects. For positive effects, we talk about opportunity. Are we together? For positive effects, we talk about opportunity. For negative effects, we talk about risk. And how do you now want to analyze all of those things? You identify, analyze, you want to prioritize, this risk is critical to me, let us deal with it. Then you know whether you want to mitigate, whether you can deal with it, whether you want to share, whether you want to, allow and all of that, and how you control it. At the end of the day, benefits of adopting the process approach, enhance the efficiency, enhancement of efficiency, consistent quality. We've mentioned that. Reduction in waste and cost, improved customer satisfaction, agility, right, and responsiveness. A well-defined process framework allows organizations to adapt more quickly to changes. Let's look at what we want to take a look at here briefly, right? This is ISO 9001 as a whole. This is ISO 9001 as a whole. When you're talking about ISO 9001, this is what you do. When you follow this to the letter, right? When you follow it into the letter, definitely you are talking about quality when you are rendering your service or your product. When you have clause 4, talks about context of the organization. 5 talks about leadership, what they need to do, what leadership of an organization will do, their commitment towards, the quality management system in itself. What about the planning? What about support? There is no two way to it. If the leadership is not, putting in their commitment, then you definitely know that something is wrong that needs to be worked on in the organization, right? Operation, performance evaluation, improvement. After you have done the performance evaluation and you realize that, okay, something is wrong here, something is not being done well, then what do? Improve on it, right? This is the high-level structure. Context of the organization, that's clause 4 that we talked about here, right? This is clause 4, context of the organization. You see, I want to understand what you do as an organization. You want to understand your interested parties. You want to understand your issues. You want to understand the scope. You want to understand the interaction, right? And see that leadership is at the core when it comes to planning, when it comes to operation, when it comes to improvement. How do you want to act on improvement when leadership is not aware, when leadership is not showing commitment? How do you want to plan when leadership is not bringing out money or cash? How do you want to, how do you want to do your operations when there is no disbursement of fund in the organization? How do you want to do performance evaluation when the leadership is not committed? Right? You need to take that into, keen consideration. This is for 2008 version, right? Before we now have the 2015 version that is being built upon. That is, they added a whole lot of things to it. You see that that number 4 in 2008 version talks about quality management system. I wouldn't know how they have done it, but right now you can see it is well, well defined. You can better understand it in 2015 version, right? The benefit of the Excel structure, right? Ease of integration, consistency, clarity, improved efficiency. These are the terminologies. We've talked about quality management system is a formalized system of processes, is a formalized system of policies and procedure, which is focused consistently to meet customer requirements and to enhance customer satisfaction. We've mentioned this, right? We have mentioned this. What is a requirement in itself? A requirement is a need or expectation that is stated, generally implied, or obligatory as it is, right? That is a requirement. A requirement is what you need to do that has been stated. It is required of you to wake up in the morning and brush your teeth. I believe it's probably a requirement of some people. Maybe not everybody brush their teeth, right? But it's a requirement of some people before they step out. I need to take my bed. It's a requirement that I need to do. Customer satisfaction. It refers to the perception or the degree to which customer expectations have been met, right? So if it has been met or it has not been met, right, you need to make perception into that to understand how you need to meet customer expectation, customer satisfaction and expectation. There's no two way to it, right? What about the process? The process is a set of interrelated or interacting activity that transforms input into outputs at every point in time. This needs to be understood. You need to understand this. Please give me a minute, right? Give me a minute. Okay, yeah, thank you very much, guys. So I feel like we should remain on this, right? Remain on this because if I go on and on without explaining this, right, it won't benefit any of us. Right? I don't want to gloss over it. I need you to understand everything as it is. So let me pick it from clause 4, right? Clause 4 that talks about context of the organization. Clause 4 that talks about context of the organization. Trust me, when you understand everything here, then you already understand quality management system. If you understand clause 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 here, then trust me, you can go ahead and explain to anybody. Just ensure that you understand it. So let's pick it from clause 4 that talks about context of the organization. If I say what is context of the organization, I want to understand the context of the organization. I want to understand the internal and external issues. Some other organizations call it factors, right? But me, I call it issues, basically. What are the issues? Issues can be internally, issues can be externally. Some organizations will tell you we do PESU analysis. And I'm sure that you've heard about PESU analysis before. I'm sure that you've heard about maybe SWOT analysis at some point in time before. When you talk about SWOT, you talk about your internal values. You talk about your internal issues, internal issues or internal factors. SWOT means strength, weakness, opportunity, and strength. S for strength, W for weakness, O for opportunities, T for threats. We want to look at what are the strengths we have as an organization, right? What are the weaknesses that we have? Do we have opportunities and do we have threats? That is for internal issues, right? And when you talk about PESU analysis, you're looking at external now. You're looking at the external factors or the external issues. You're looking at that's political factor. When you begin to talk about, government policy and all of that, you talk about environmental factor, climate change, flooding, civil unrest, and all of that. S, you talk about social, right? You talk about social factors. You talk about T again, technological. You talk about economical now, that is E. You talk about legal. So all of those things you need to take them into keen consideration when you're talking about 4.1, understanding the context of the organization. And it still boils down to even the needs and expectation of interested parties. So to your particular service that you are rendering, right, to product that you have as an organization, definitely you have people that are interested in your product, one way or the other. Whether directly or indirectly, you have interested people. You have some product out there, some people will never purchase. You have some product out there, that some people, these are the class of people that buy this kind of product, right? So you understand that we have interested party at one point in time or the other. When you're talking about interested party, definitely you're talking about even the staff of the organization itself. Whether directly or indirectly, whether you are interested or not, you have this stated in 4.2, understanding the needs. And it's not enough to say these are just the interested party. You are talking about, the needs and expectation of this. What about 4.3 that talks about the scope of management system, scope of quality management system? You are talking about scope. So for a whole lot of people, when you talk about scope, you talk about the the extent to which you want to get something involved. Scope. So let's take, for example, maybe we have Bola. Bola owns an organization, and the organization has a lot of branches in Lagos. However, Bola wants to get the head office certified, right? Not the other branches, even in Lagos, but the head office that is in Ikeja, Bola wants to get them. That is you talking about determining the scope. I want to deal with this in the organization. I don't want to deal with this now. So you will need to determine the scope. The scope of the implementation will definitely matter here. What about the interaction? And you talk about 4.4, that's the interaction of processes. Want to ensure that your process is not just standalone, right? Want to ensure that your process is interacting with this particular process. Your process is interacting with this particular process. This process has input to this, and the output of this process will bring about input to other processes. Let's go to leadership. I mentioned earlier on, there's no two way to it. There's no way you want to talk about leadership in the organization that you will not talk about their commitment. If the leadership of the organization is not committed, then we have a problem. They are the ones to develop the policy in the organization, right? Leadership of the organization to develop the policy. Organization roles, responsibility, and authority. I am not the one. Take, for example, Bola is the CEO of a particular organization. Bola will be the one to appoint roles to these particular people, right? It is not some sort of probably office manager, as the case may be. The leadership of the organization has a commitment that needs to drive the quality management system in itself. They provide resources, right? If you look at 7.1, resources not standalone, right? Commitment of the organization talks about resource. Leadership of the organization need to give resource. They need to drive awareness. You see 7.3, right? You see 7.4, they need to drive communication. If they don't provide money, then maybe there won't be any training in the organization. That brings about competence at some point in time. So leadership is like the core of this thing in itself, to understand that if leadership of the organization, if leadership of a particular product that is being being produced or service that is being rendered is not committed, then we have a problem. You see that 6.0 that talks about actions to address risks and opportunity. We were talking about it the other time. It gives you the opportunity, right, to ensure that you highlight, you manage your risk, and risk now can bring about opportunities. It can bring about opportunities that can benefit the organization in a way, right? You need to understand that objectives and plans to achieve them. We mentioned that earlier on. What about planning to changes? You are talking about planning to changes here. What about the changes? What kind of changes are you talking about? People change, process change, organizational change, and so on and so forth. You need to plan it. You need to plan it. You need to be able to document it. We've talked about resource. Competencies. Somebody is competent enough to handle a particular position. Then if you are competent enough to handle a particular position, competence here still talks about how you want to further build competence to get better in that particular thing that you're doing, right? Awareness, we've talked about it. You need to be aware of what is being done in the organization, be aware of quality management system, be aware of quality things that you do in the organization, right? Communication. We've talked about that one. Documented information. Documented information is key. You have to understand that every process, right? This is key. Let me stay on this. Even if this is the only thing that you will get here, you need to pay attention to this. 7.5 that talks about documented information. They say that the faintest ink is better than the sharpest brain. Everything that you do, every process that you have, they need to be documented. And is this document, are they controlled? All these documents, are they controlled? Right? Are they controlled? Processes need to be documented. And these processes and this documentation that you have, are they controlled? 8 is talking about the operation in itself. 9, the operation of QMS, right? Operation of QMS is different from operation of information security, as the case may be. 9 plus 9 talks about MMAE. I mentioned that earlier on. Monitoring, measurement, analysis, and evaluation. This is where you evaluate what you've done so far. You do internal audit. Internal audit is a form of evaluation. Management review is a form of evaluation when you sit down to be like, this is what we've done so far. This is what we need to do, and all of those. Plus 10 talks about continual improvement, right? Plus 10.1 talks about non-conformity. What are the problems that we faced? What are the things that we are not doing so much, that we're not doing too good, right? We need to document them. You need to ensure that even your non-conformities have, what is the cause of this non-conformity? That is what we call root cause. How do we correct this? How do we ensure that this doesn't happen again? Corrective action, right? Then we have continual improvement. What are the continual improvement controls that we have to put in place to ensure that, we meet the quality that we want to dish out, to our customer, right? If you don't understand anything, understand the fact that all your processes and your the process that you do, they are documented in the organization. To every process, there are requirements that need to be followed, right? Thank you very much, everybody. Because of our time, we'll be wrapping up now. I wouldn't know if you have any question. Messi, over to you. What do we do next from here? Thank you so much, everybody. Thank you for being here.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Bolaji. Please, a very big round of applause to him. I don't know if anyone has a question. If you do, feel free to ask. Okay, yes, there were some questions in the chat room. So the floor is open now to you. As many that want to ask a question, you have just few minutes to do so. So someone asked that, how can he or she, as a primary school teacher, apply this QMS, this ISO 9001 as a primary school teacher? I think you should give an answer to that person. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you very much, Messi. So I understand, we mentioned that, quality management system applies to anybody. Even as a teacher that you're talking about, you understand that this is probably the lesson notes that you probably have to deliver to your students, right? And you know that this is the quality that I have to present. You know that there is time also attached to every period that you have. You know that to every topic, this is the core of it, and this is what the student needs to learn. We have situations whereby we have topic that can be covered in 30 minutes. However, in the textbook, you're looking at maybe 3 hours and all of that. Go to the core of it, bring it out, and ensure that they get the benefit to that particular topic that you're talking about. I don't know if that answers your question, but time management is also very important, right? When it comes to you being a primary school teacher, we mentioned earlier on. Don't forget that we mentioned earlier on that to every of the things that you're doing, it needs to be documented, right? It needs to be documented. So you need to ensure that it meets why are children coming to school to learn? It is to get intelligence. So ensure that you dish it out to them in such a way that everything that you want to cover within that period concerning that topic, you bring out the best out of it to give out to your students. Go to the things that are really relevant, dish it out to them, have a time management skill that you need to follow, as it is in itself. I don't know if that answers your question.
Okay,
And
he
I see,
says, the person says that she understands better now.
okay, thank you so much. I think I see another question
Okay,
here. Mercy, is that
okay,
permitted?
please.
Can I go ahead?
Okay, you can go ahead and read the question. Yes.
Okay, so I see another question. I say, how relevant is it to an aviation business? Trust me, my we based on experience, we just did something for one of the aviation business recently. How it is so relevant to aviation business. There is no way you want to. There are guidelines. I understand. I'm not in aviation. I'm not an aviation expert. However, with what I've seen, with what I've heard, with what I've read about, right? I understand that there are specific requirements to particular load that on maybe a particular aircraft with a particular size can carry and all of that. Are we sure that it is not, it is not being exceeded at every point in time because of money? Are we sure that we're dishing out quality to our customers at every point in time? So to every process you're talking about, right? To every process, there is quality approach to every of these process that you're talking about. There is no way that QMS is not applicable to aviation. Trust me. If Messi can just give me probably another 1 hour to explain this to you, then I will open your eyes to see a whole lot of things when it comes to where I know that aviation has even an accreditation body at one point in time that you need to follow. So aviation, having QMS in aviation is just key. There is no two way to it because you have a whole lot of processes and you have to have a quality approach to this in itself. I think I work in a government school as a teacher. I think yeah, we've addressed that already. How can I apply all the knowledge as a primary school teacher? I think that's the same thing. I
Okay.
can't see any question here anymore.
All right. I think that's the last we can take at this moment. Hello, can you hear me, Mr. Bolaji?
Yes, I can hear you clearly. Sorry, let me take this lastly. You said these ISO standards are company certification, right? Yes, these ISO standards, it's just like you putting your organization, out there. We talked about competitive advantage, right? We talked about reduction of cost and all of that. So that's what I have to say to that. Yes, you are correct. It's for company certification, whether it's multinational or single man business and all of that. Thank you so much. Merci, over to you.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Bolaji. Please, can we put a round of applause to our trainer for the third session? It's been, you will agree with me that it's been informative. Some people are shouting on the chat room that this session, it's not easy and all of that. But I tell you that all of this is applicable to our everyday life. So that's why you are on this call today. So you can also apply it to your everyday life. Whether you're a school teacher, you are selling in the market, you have to apply quality to whatever you are doing. So thank you so much for that awesome delivery, Mr. Bolaji. On to the next session, the session we've been waiting for. Boma, if you can